Alright, let's keep rolling on our breakdown of Wave Echo Cave from Phandelver and below the Shattered Obelisk. I've run this for multiple parties, I've made many mistakes, and I'm going to teach you guys how to not repeat those. Let's get into it. Area W16 is the booming cavern. This is where the sound that gives Wave Echo Cave its name is coming from. Every 2 minutes, the heat from the hot springs below surges the water up and slams into that cliff along the edge there. In this room is a giant octopus, and anybody who's within 5 feet of the ledge that has a light source, it will come up and use its tentacles to try and grapple them, and it will pull them into the water. While in the water, each round they have to make a DC 10 athletics check to remain afloat or be pulled underneath. Now all that water to the northeast is part of a huge underground lake that was partially explored by dwarves, but their research is long gone, and it connects to other networks of caves and caverns leading into the Underdark. The book doesn't have anything else about that, but you could have some fun with that if you wanted to homebrew some stuff to add over on the other side of that lake. It does say that the water is warmer than is expected for an underground water source. Area 17 is just an old dry stream bed that the dwarves diverted to run the water wheel in Area W12. But then with the stuff that happened, earthquakes or whatever, or the explosion of the obelisk, as I like to call it, diverted the stream again, leaving both things dry. So the only real purpose of this in the dungeon is that it is a backdoor passage that Nesnar could use to get around the flame skull and the zombies in Area W12 and not have to go through the fungi in W8, but Nesnar has not found this passage yet. So Area W18 is this wide rift that was formed whenever all the cataclysm went down and diverted the stream. So when you enter this area from whichever direction, up on the ledge to the left is a drow. It's actually a doppelganger named Valak disguised as a drow. I don't know why they threw doppelgangers in, like in Cragmaw Castle and here. I guess just to be interesting, because it would be fine if they were just drow, and it doesn't really come up that much. The only advantage you get from it is that you can have a moment like I described in Cragmaw Castle, where if this drow and one of the party members gets like thrown into a side passage, you can have him transform into that party member, and then you have like that whole climax of an action movie, like, is it her, is it him, you know, I knew your birth name, so shoot him. But other than that, I don't think it really matters that it's a doppelganger. This drow is shouting orders to 4 bugbears. There are 2 bugbears up on the ledge standing guard, and then there are 2 bugbears down in the rift clearing rubble. Nesnar the spider used divination to find that there was some valuable artifact buried in this rubble. So you should probably have your party hear the drow saying that. If anybody speaks drow or undercommon or goblin, that's probably what they're speaking in. So if your party doesn't speak that, they're not going to understand. But I would definitely hint at the fact that they seem to be trying to unearth something. It takes a DC 20 perception check to find what they are looking for once you deal with the bugbears and the drow. And it is the remains of a dwarf that is wearing gauntlets of ogre power. If 3 of the bugbears fall in battle, Valak, the doppelganger drow, is going to flee to Area W19 to warn the spider. Area W19 is the temple to Dumathoin. If the occupants of this room are not aware of you, as you enter, you see a big statue to Dumathoin, 6 pillars, 6 bedrolls neatly arranged, and a table with some papers on it. Standing in front of that table are 2 bugbears flanking 1 male drow in black leather armor and robes, and holding a staff with a spider carved into the top. If they have not been warned of you coming, the drow looks at you and in common says, "It seems that I must deal with you myself. A pity it must end this way." And then you have your characters roll initiative. If they are aware that you're coming, the 2 bugbears will hide behind pillars, and you will roll stealth for those bugbears. Obviously, the lower score is going to be the DC for the perception to see them. Nesnar, the spider, will cast invisibility on himself. The doppelganger, if he fled here from Area W18, will take on the appearance of Nundro, the dwarf, Grunrin's brother, and try to deceive the party. The book says that any character trained in religion recognizes the statue of Dumathoin and can tell that the gems that are used for his eyes are probably worth about 5,000 gold pieces. If one of your characters attempts to pry one of those eyes loose, It is a DC 10 athletics check. Then they have to make a DC 12 dexterity saving throw, or the 6 pillars that hold up this room crumble. Everyone in there has to make a DC 15 dex save. If they fail, they take 2d10 points of bludgeoning damage as the ceiling collapses. Anybody still in this room on the next round is buried and killed by the falling ceiling, and this area becomes impassable. So this is a greed trap, basically. It is possible for them to get the eye if they succeed the saving throw, and DC 12 is not that high. But there's a chance that this room collapses. It could kill members of the party. Neznar the spider himself is apparently very talkative, and he is very deceptive. If the battle goes bad for him, he will propose surrendering. He will propose cooperating to fight through the undead that are blocking the way to work together. But if the party does cooperate with him, which I haven't had any do, he will betray them as soon as he can. If they end up capturing him because he surrenders and are taking him back to town as a prisoner, he will constantly be asking questions, trying to learn everything he can about the party in the interest of trying to use that knowledge to his advantage later. He's a smooth talker. He has a good charisma. When you take him back to Phandelver, you'll have to wait on either Sildar Hallwinter or another member of the Lord's Alliance to transport him back for his punishment back to Neverwinter. If you do not post guards outside his room, that night, Halia Thornton, who is a Zhentarim agent, will sneak in, pick the lock, set him free, and transport him to the Zhentarim. And the book says that whatever his fate is after that, you can decide. As far as other treasure in this room goes, the papers on the table describe his explorations of the cave. There's nothing that useful there. Neznar himself has a potion of healing, his spider staff, and a key shaped like an anvil which opens the door to area W20. He also has, amongst the papers on his table, the collected treasure that he's gained from his explorations. He has about 360 gold worth of assorted coins. He has 9 gemstones worth 10 gold pieces each, and he has a dwarven mug made of hammered electrum worth 80 gold pieces. Area W20 is the priest quarters. It is a DC 15 thieves tools to pick this lock, and the book says that any messing with this door at all will attract Neznar's attention in W19, and he will send his bugbears to investigate. So they pretty much aren't going to let you get into this door without having your encounter with Neznar first. Because in this room is Nundro Rockseeker. He's a disheveled, unconscious dwarf lying on the ground. Unconscious, but stable. The room's decorated with gold and red. Your party's not going to care about the decorations. It's where the priest stayed that served this temple. You can wake him up. He will be grateful. He will accompany the party as long as they're in the cavern, as long as they're in Wave Echo Cave. He wants to get back to Phandelver, obviously. He's happy to see Grundrin. I like to have him apologize to Grundrin and be like, sorry, I tried to stop him. I tried to protect our brother Tharden. I couldn't. I'm sorry. And have him feel bad and feel guilty over what happened to their other brother. He doesn't know anything else about the Wave Echo Caves and the party. The spider was keeping him alive and has been torturing and interrogating him every day to try and find out if he has any further information. It also says that if your party has not finished exploring Wave Echo Cave, that this is another one of those places that is safe to rest. Again, I would discourage a long rest, but if they want to take a short rest and you want to roll to see if they have a random encounter, that's fine. There's only one door in or out. I don't love that they give you places to rest in this dungeon, but I understand why they did. It's a pretty big place. So with that done, with all of the cave explored and everything handled, you have found the lost Forge of Spells. The Rock Seekers are going to take claim over it, but they're going to offer the party a 10% stake in its profits. So the book says to give your party 10d10 plus 200 gold each at the start of each chapter to represent their take from their new business partnership. What I also do for my parties after this is I let them have access to the Forge of Spells. Green Brazier's cool, but it's not the thing. The Forge of Spells crafts magic items, so I will let my party use the Forge of Spells to make magic items. It is expensive and it's time consuming, so it's not something they can do all the time, and they can only make certain levels of magic items based on their level. What I do is If they are level 5 or over, they can make +1 items, but it's expensive. It's just like, so the rules for crafting items is it's half the cost of buying it in materials plus an amount of time based on the gold. So I'm not going to get into all the exact specific rules, but it's half the price of buying the item. That's the big advantage. But the cost extra is the time that you have to do it. So as long as if they're level 5, they can make +1 items. If they are above level 10, they can make +2 items. I have them where they can make common items at level 5. They can make uncommon items at level 10. Again, they're paying the gold value for these things, and they have to come back here because their adventures are going to take them far away. And then past level 15, they can make +3 items, and they can make rare items. But the control on that is, and I know that sounds, oh, that's so powerful. It's very, very expensive. It's very, very time consuming, and they are having to roll checks to successfully do this. It's not just automatically happening. But it's a cool thing for your party to be like, oh, we rescue this ancient powerful forge, and not to let them use it is pretty lame. So those are my guidelines for letting your party use this forge after they rescue it. They're gonna get some money from their partnership. But at this point, you have basically finished what it was originally the beginner's box adventure. You're going to travel back to Phandelver, you're going to handle Nesnar, you're going to be friends with the Rock Seekers. But when you get back to town for this adventure, the goblins, the psychic goblins, are going to be going around. They've been making trouble, like kind of how you came back and you found out the Red Brands were making trouble. This time you come back and you find out about these goblins making trouble, and that is going to lead us into the second half of this adventure. At this point, your party should level up to level 5. They should all have at least +1 weapons. They've got this source of money coming in. They will eventually, it's going to take some time for the dwarves to set things back up, but they will eventually get to use the Forge of Spells to make new magic items, and they are well on their way to being famous adventurers. They're already going to be famous in this town, and as the bad things start happening to the town of Phandelver, hopefully they feel some ownership and are going to want to intervene. So that finishes up Wave Echo Cave. If you guys want to check out my walkthroughs for other campaigns or any of my live play streams, I'll post those videos on here. We're going to get through this whole thing together. Thank you guys.